Nietzsche made suffering central to his philosophy. He wrote that whatever does not kill you makes you stronger. He wished suffering upon those he cared about, not out of cruelty, but out of a genuine belief that greatness cannot be achieved without it. He looked at human history, the art, the philosophy, the empires, the breakthroughs, and saw that everything worth achieving was achieved by people who endured something that hurt. The muscle tears before it grows. The mind breaks before it rebuilds. The soul is forged in the exact place most people are trying to escape. This is a powerful idea. It is also incomplete, and its incompleteness has caused genuine harm. Because here is the truth that Nietzsche did not adequately address. Some suffering does not make you stronger. Some suffering just breaks you. The person who loses a child does not become more resilient. They become someone who has lost a child. The victim of prolonged abuse does not develop character. They develop trauma responses that will take decades to untangle. The refugee who watched their family die does not emerge from that experience with a deeper appreciation for life. They emerge with wounds that may never heal. To tell these people that their suffering is raw material for greatness is not philosophy. It is cruelty dressed as wisdom. But Nietzsche was not wrong. He was incomplete. And there is a difference. What Nietzsche described, suffering as fuel for growth, is a real phenomenon. It happens. People do emerge from difficulty stronger, wiser, more capable than they were before. The phenomenon even has a name in modern psychology, post-traumatic growth. But here is the crucial insight that Nietzsche missed. Post-traumatic growth is not the default outcome of suffering. It is one possible outcome, and it depends on factors that Nietzsche did not account for. The first factor is meaning. Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust and wrote about it in Man's Search for Meaning, understood this better than Nietzsche did. Suffering becomes bearable and potentially transformative when you can find meaning in it. When you can answer the question, why is this happening? When you can tell a story about your suffering that makes it part of a larger purpose. The person who loses a child and starts a foundation to prevent other children from dying has found meaning. The person who loses a child and is simply consumed by grief has not. And the difference is not a matter of willpower. It is a matter of whether meaning is available, whether the circumstances allow for a narrative that makes sense of the pain. The second factor is support. You do not grow through suffering alone. You grow through suffering in the context of relationships that hold you while you break. The research on resilience is clear. The single most important factor in whether someone recovers from trauma is whether they have at least one supportive relationship. Nietzsche, who spent his adult life profoundly isolated, never fully appreciated this. He believed the individual could overcome anything through sheer will. He was wrong about that, and his being wrong about that has led some of his followers to believe that asking for help is weakness, when in reality it is the precondition for growth. The third factor is duration and intensity. There is a threshold beyond which suffering stops being a teacher and becomes simply destructive. Nietzsche understood this in the abstract. He acknowledged that there is such a thing as too much suffering. But he never developed a framework for distinguishing between constructive suffering and destructive suffering. The difference matters. A difficult workout makes you stronger. Breaking your spine does not. A challenging intellectual problem makes you smarter. Torture does not. The rejection of a manuscript makes a writer more determined. Years of solitary confinement do not. There is a line, and crossing it does not make you an Übermensch. It makes you a casualty. This distinction has profound implications for how we should think about suffering. Nietzsche's framework, taken to its logical extreme, can become a justification for cruelty. If suffering is always good for you, then why intervene to prevent it? Why stop someone from experiencing pain if pain is what makes them stronger? This is the dark side of Nietzsche's philosophy, the part that has been used to justify everything from abusive coaching to political violence. And the answer is that not all suffering is redemptive. Some suffering is just suffering. It has no meaning. It produces no growth. It is simply damage. And pretending otherwise is not strength. It is denial. So where does this leave us? Nietzsche was right about something important. Suffering can be the raw material of greatness. It can be the fire that forges strength. It can be the catalyst for self-overcoming. But it is not automatically any of these things. It becomes these things only under specific conditions, when meaning is possible, when support is available, when the intensity does not cross the threshold into pure destruction. And even then, there is no guarantee. Some people do everything right and still do not grow from their pain. They just hurt. And that is not a moral failing. It is the nature of being human. The mature Nietzschean position, the one Nietzsche himself might have arrived at if he had lived longer and been less isolated, is not that suffering is good. It is that suffering is inevitable, and what matters is what you do with it. You do not seek suffering. You do not glorify it. You do not pretend that all pain is productive. You accept that pain will come, because it will, and you prepare yourself to meet it as well as you can. And when it breaks you anyway, because sometimes it will, you do not add guilt to the injury. You do not blame yourself for failing to turn tragedy into triumph. You just survive. And sometimes, in the right circumstances, with the right support, you eventually grow. But not always. And that is the truth Nietzsche never fully faced.